Um, so why don't you just go over the names and what you know about them?
Okay, and then can you see when I am using
Yes,
my mouse? Okay,
yes.
so this is me, and then this is my mom, and I don't know her dad's name, but I
Oh,
do have a picture of him in my mind because I've seen one picture of him in a newspaper article.
oh wow.
And my grandma Chris, I knew her really well. So my mom grew up in Petaluma, and so I know I don't know where my grandma Chris came from.
Did
And
he,
so
did your grandfather die young?
um I don't know. My mom disowned him when she
Oh,
was young.
no.
And so her memories of him is that he was an alcoholic and left her like in the car when he was at the bar and had like really bad memories.
Yeah.
And so, and my grandma was just a single mom, and just struggling. And she had um, three, four kids. And but my mom doesn't refer to her as being a really good mom.
Mm.
And then my dad, both of his parents were deaf,
Oh,
and and when my dad was 9, he was the oldest of four, and they split up and they both disowned the kids. So the two youngest ones bounced in and out of foster care. And then the two older ones went to go live with my grandpa Frank and so my great grandfather Frank and my great grandma Anona.
wow.
And Frank came from um, a family that had, I think, somewhere in the mid states is the stories that I've heard. And there was so many kids that they were starving, and so he left to go be on his own. So at least it was one less mouth to feed.
And where was that?
Somewhere in the mid states, so somewhere in the mid United States. And he traveled and ended up in Dixon, and then that's when he met my grandma Nona. And my grandma Nona was kind of like a Cinderella story, but didn't have a good Cinderella ending. And so her father passed away, and then her mom remarried a Dixon rancher. And then she was the stepsister, like his daughters got the really nice rooms, and she didn't get the nice rooms. And she got a room up in the attic.
Oh
And
gosh.
and she was a tomboy, so she didn't like to wear dresses. I have been told that a number of times. And there were women, a couple when I was growing up in Dixon that stopped me on the road, and I didn't know who these people were, and they just said that I was a spitting image of my grandma Nona.
Oh,
And I look like her, my mannerisms, that they definitely knew I was a Nona's descendant.
oh, that's interesting.
And so that happened on more than one occasion. And so but that's what I know.
Was your father one of the older ones that went to Frank and Anona, right?
He was the oldest, yeah.
Do you know why they didn't take the little ones? They just couldn't, they didn't have the capacity?
They just didn't have the capacity. They just couldn't take four kids.
Oh,
And
wow.
so they took the two oldest ones. And then my parents, one of the reasons that they got into the Jehovah's Witnesses is because my dad was just, they were both thirsting for just a family and a family unit.
Right.
And it gave them like an instant stability and instant support. And then my dad actually offered to take both of the two younger ones, my uncle Lance was already off as a lost cause on his own mission at that point. But he ended up taking my Aunt Vicky in for she was 14. And took her in and then she became a Jehovah's Witness until she got married and moved out.
So
So
definitely,
I'd say both sides need healing.
yes, but definitely the theme is not close family that you can depend on.
Correct.
Okay, for fun, well, why don't we just for kicks do the pendulum? Should we start with your mother's side or father's side? So should we start with,
Let's start with my mom's side since I don't know that much about that family.
okay, but ask the pendulum.
And if it goes around in a circle, then
Well,
that is
you have to set it up first. So say, give me a yes, give me a no,
give me a yes. And give me a no.
and then we say we should start with mom.
We should start with mom.
I'm holding it over her name. Or we should start with dad.
Or we should start with dad.
I just got yes on both. What'd you get?
I got yes on dad.
Okay. um, so first we'll do it the easy way, and then we'll do it the David Furlong more in-depth way. So his name is Frank Higby. Frank Higby, what do you need most for healing that can pass down through the DNA and energy field? Upside down Virgin. Light attributes, maintaining symbolic purity of heart and spirit. Shadow attribute, fear of intimate union. Since he was abandoned, it would be natural that he would fear intimate union.
Right.
Were his parents, his grandparents, warm and loving?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, so okay. Let's do it David's way. And so ask if there's any genetic pattern that creates some form of blockage. Okay, the pattern is not being able to depend on family members, on warm family members, and you couldn't either.
Right. No, I would that follows suit.
Yeah. And see it as a color. What color?
Green.
Okay. And then he says, pay attention to your information exchange from your higher self, like an inner flame in the heart, and be aware of what you feel. It's kinesthetic, your emotional response, feeling what you hear in words, auditory, visual input about your ancestors. Or you could do automatic writing and get a reply. So let's both do that. What would be healing for Kim's ancestors? Can your parents trust each other, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh. So they healed it a little bit, but you can't trust them. in, s- in
Correct.
some ways. um, so what we want to send down, what we want to heal is not being able to trust your family. Some maybe you can, but a fair amount you can't. So let's send to this chart that the any legacy of distrust, abandonment, because we have two sides abandonment, that is replaced by trust, love, and mutual support. So we just send we can see it like an energy field flowing down through the family DNA, and we send trust, love, mutual support, and kindness. And then I want to see if anybody really needs individual focus. So Kim's mom, no. Okay. Fuller Daggett, is that his name?
Father, I don't know his name.
Oh, he's the alcoholic. Oh my
Yep.
God, look at this. He really needs okay. Let me just check the others. No, okay, him. Okay, he really needs healing. Well, if you go on ancestry.com, you'll be able to fill in his name, and it'll be a little bit easier to read him.
Okay.
Do you know your mother's maiden name?
I just know though it's Daggett is the
Oh,
last name.
okay. Okay. All right. Well, then we are going to, you know what? He probably is still in a place. I think the reason he showed up, he's still in a place of guilt, remorse, even on the other side. So I think what he needs is, Father Daggett, please know that what Jesus taught is forgiveness. He said to the guards who crucified him, Father, forgive them, they know not what they do. So what we'd ask of you, Mr. Daggett, is that you adopt a little bit of that forgiveness for yourself, and that you get support and instruction from guides and friends who would love to work with you and help you. I think he's just really isolated himself and still feels alone and guilt ridden. So let's picture him reaching out to guides, because we all have them. They want to help us, but we have to reach out. So Mr. Daggett, we forgive you. Kim forgives you. After all, if you weren't here, she wouldn't be here. So thank you for that. And look up a little bit, see the light, see a hand reaching out to help you stand up. He's not used to being in the light. It's interesting. So let's see him gradually getting used to being in the light, getting help, and moving from guilt to, what can I learn from this? How can I make amends? How can I do better next time? Let me understand why I learned to be an alcoholic. What was there in my family that made me be that way or contributed? Do you get anything from Mr. Daggett?
No, I do see him in the dark though.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Daggett, now is your opportunity to talk to your granddaughter. So she forgives you. She thanks you for enabling her birth. And is there anything that you would like to say to her? So Kim and I can tune into that. He says, carefully walk your steps because it doesn't take much to fall off the track, is what he said. So he says, pay attention. Mr. Daggett, anything you want to say in particular to Kim, because she hasn't fallen off the track? He's curious about your kids, and now that he's kind of coming out of being in fetal position, he can check in on them. So to help him keep healing and thereby heal the whole lineage, I would make a point when you feel like it, when you're meditating, send him some love and forgiveness. And I would see whatever else you can learn about him from your mother. What does she know about the family he grew up in?
Okay.
You can do, I'm doing ancestral healing, mother. I need to know.
I need to know.
Oh. It's of the devil. No, I'll never tell you.
I have to word that very delicately.
Yeah, just say, what I'm curious. I don't know anything about him. Tell me. Okay. Let's check again if anybody needs specific attention. Nothing popped up for me.
Nope. It's pretty
Okay.
still.
This is David Furlong. Another way, he says, put the chart in front of you, connect to your higher self in your heart, ask your mother and father to sit on either side of you, picking up information from the four modalities. How do you feel, sense, hear? Link them back to all 14 ancestors and imagine a large scale in front of you to represent each side of the family and see how it tips. Let's see. I think I'm gonna use something. I think I'll just use paper. So does mother side or father side, wait, okay, show us, are the sides evenly balanced? Or does one side need more? I guess the heavy side needs more. So which is that? Okay. So I'm just gonna visualize it. So mother side, father side. So I guess father side needs some work because we did a little bit on father's side. All right. And then what you do is ask, how can I transform or shift this pattern at this time? And imagine that you have a well ancestor, a healthy ancestor to help you. And then Imagine that healthy ancestor healing whatever needs to be healed for the sake of the descendants. And he says, note if there's a place in your body, breathe in, exhale, 3 deep breaths, releasing the pattern into the flame. 3 times, deep breath. So any family patterns on either side, actually, of not feeling supported, or you can trust, we're gonna breathe it into a flame 3 times. 1, releasing. 2, releasing. 3, releasing. I wonder if your youngest daughter has some of this. Not feeling.
I think
can
she,
trust.
yep, she's got a lot of it, that's for sure.
Yeah. So let's imagine a family tree, like a gold tree, with your daughter sitting cozily in it, like, you know, it's a big apple tree and it's got a really comfy little crook where she can cuddle up and feel safe. And we clean up any mistrust. Can't trust you guys. You're not supporting me the way I want to be supported. Let's clean it up and do the breathing thing again, especially in relation to this daughter. So clean that mistrust up. 1, into the flame. 2, into the flame. 3, into the flame. And we surround her with a bubble of Mary blue, a blue bubble of Virgin Mary holding her. She's got her blue robe around her, keeping her safe, protecting her. Does that work for you? She's in the tree. She's protected by Mary.
Mhm.
Okay. I think that'll really help. That should make a difference. It'll be interesting to see. And David says it's safe to have a new story, a new way of being. It's safe to be myself, support ancestors in healing, impacting descendants and community. And breathe in one more time the new story from the helpful ancestors. That's pretty cool. Are you noticing anything, Kim?
That Celine's being receptive to that.
Oh, good. And then he says to balance polarities, pick one trait. Okay, so can't trust. Connect to your higher self and inner light. Think of an ancestor who carries the quality of concern and the one who carries the opposites, such as angry person, calm person, symbolized by a color. Let the colors merge. Focus on the scales until they balance. See the energy from those 2 ancestors down the family tree yourself. Okay, so let's make up an ancestor because we don't really, unless you know one. Maybe Frank, an ancestor who carries that quality of supportiveness. And what color would Frank's taking on his siblings, that kind of support be?
Blue.
Okay, and then I would say the opposite has got to be Mr. Daggett.
Mm-hmm.
And what color would he be?
Yellow.
Okay, so blue and yellow makes green.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the color you started with anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just a couple more. To cleanse and transmute, request your higher self to scan your body for any negative genetic pattern and highlight it as a color. Okay, we don't have to know what it is. So you scan, I scan, negative genetic pattern. And do you want to say it out loud, Kim, or do you want to just keep it private?
So holding stress and not allowing time for self-care.
And how is that a family pattern?
Because they're workaholics,
Oh,
or at least on my dad's side.
okay,
They're
good.
all workaholics.
Oh, good. And then call on your higher self. He works with the higher self a lot to send a golden sieve through your body. So we can do a gold sun that's like a screen, or he calls it a sieve. And we're going to bring that gold sun in with the intention of bringing any ancestral patterns into the present, and where they can go back to the past and leave us rational and centered. So gold sun, full of cleaning out quality of old genetic pattern, comes in through the head. We're just operating in November 2022, down the neck, across the shoulders, down the arms, through the torso and all that's in it, through the abdominal cavity, all that's in it, down through the thighs, knees, calves, and feet. And anything that's being cleared, send that energy to the sun. Boop. And he says, do the clearing 3 times. So gold sun, set at clearing old harmful ancestral patterns, leave the good ones, the useful ones. Comes in through the head, down the shoulders and arms. Fills the thoracic cavity, abdominal cavity, thighs, knees, calves, and feet. Anything released goes to the sun. And one more time, let's also set the sun as filling in with the present rational energy, not programmed energy. So the sun is clearing and filling in with rational, present time, healthy energy into the head, neck, shoulders and arms, thoracic cavity, abdominal cavity, thighs, knees, calves, and feet. And he says, ask the color of your inner soul essence close to your heart. Send it radiating out to replace the ancestral energy. If you had to say, what would you say your inner soul essence color is?
Like a pink rose color.
Oh, interesting. So send it all through your body to replace anything that's stuck, old stuff. And I would say my original essence color is sapphire blue. Violet. And then he says, with your intention, seal any doors, openings, or windows where the ancestral energy resided. That's kind of interesting. Seal any doors, openings, or windows where the ancestral energy resided, just with your intention. And check every week. And then this is a different topic, but he mentions it, and I think he's insightful. He says, to clear a dwelling, surround yourself with a strong bubble of light. Use the elemental forces of fire to burn like a flaming sword with smoke flowing out the roof, and wash with water like rain. So burn with fire, wash with rain, replace with symbols or colors in the middle of the room, filling the whole space. Put protection around the room and go on to the next. So all this is in his book about ancestral healing, which I learned a lot from. Okay. And what are you noticing? Anything come up for you, Kim?
No, just a lot of cleansing.
Ah. Why don't you stop screen sharing?
Okay.
You know what I think is so interesting is they're pretty distinct family patterns and they repeat on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting seeing it as more of us do it, what we see. I know one of the people in our group saw in her family, I think on both sides, the women, the mothers were abandoning. So they had that kind of lack of trust too.
Mm-hmm. It's
Wow.
on both sides.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's on both sides.
Okay.